listening to Seniors Junction podcast. We are preventing seniors isolation one conversation at a time. Your hosts today, Namrata Bagaria and myself, Paul Merkley, co-founders of Seniors Junction, and Dan McEwen, Director of Market Development for Motitech Canada. Welcome, Dan.
Well, thank you very much, Paul and Namrata. Thank you so much for having me on Seniors Junction.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure, more than happy to. So as you mentioned, I'm the Director of Market Development for a small company here in Canada called Motitech. And we actually hail from Norway. We've got other market groups in the UK and users all around the world of our innovation called MotiView. My background is actually in rehabilitation sciences. I finished my doctoral studies at the University of Ottawa. And I had a large passion for the older adult population, specifically clinical populations like individuals post-stroke, and those living with dementia and how we can improve their quality of life. And that actually led me to a research paper with MotiView. And I found this innovation so engaging that I said, more people need to use this across Canada. So I joined the Motitech team and I left academia. So here I am now.
Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead, Nam.
Yes, and in your journey, you must have come across senior isolation. So can you tell me what are the pain points of senior isolation in your opinion?
Absolutely. Now, we do collaborate with wonderful individuals in retirement, long-term care homes, and assisted living homes, and we know that they do their best with what they've got at their services. And we just noticed that some individuals just don't engage with the programming that's offered, and it is tricky to find programming for all interests. And so we noticed that a lot of individuals are still sitting inactive and alone, albeit there's opportunities to participate perhaps in bingo days or listen to some music, which does have some wonderful benefits. But we needed to offer a little bit more to engage them in a myriad of domains, including the physical, cognitive, and social, perhaps all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So physical, cognitive, and social. What is in your vision of it? You've already articulated part of it in that way, but what do you think about purposeful activities and purpose?
Paul, that's a wonderful question. So if it's okay, I'll introduce our innovation called MotiView. It's our video and music library. And Paul, I know you love the music. It's got a special place in our brain. Even when we're living with dementia, we may not know the name of the home we're in, but we can sing every word to that song. And so it's very important that we add music to MotiView. But as I said, MotiView is our video library filmed around the world, 40 different countries with over 2,000 videos, and it's continually growing. And these videos are placed in front of a stationary peddler to engage somebody physically into a cycling activity. Now, if it's okay, I'll rewind about 9-10 years now to Norway. A small home in Bergen wanted to increase the physical activity for their residents, and they went out and purchased some peddlers, but they noticed very quickly that they weren't engaging with the peddlers long enough to get that therapeutic benefit, and definitely didn't have the interest in coming back the next day. But at the same time in Norway, there's a concept called slow TV, where they put a camera on the front of a train and it broadcasts minute-by-minute trips of the beautiful fjords of Norway. And they noticed that the residents were getting engaged with this more than anything else. They would be watching the videos and say, oh, just up here is where I grew up as a little boy, or just down here is where I went traveling with my family when I was a little girl. And they started to make social connections. So the staff in the home got innovative, said, why don't we make similar routes of the streets of Bergen and put it with the bike to make it feel like they're pedaling down the streets. And this is how we build MotiView from day one, and we continue to improve MotiView is with the staff and residents. I love the term nothing for us without us. And so co-creation of an innovation like MotiView really helps the implementation phase and the longevity of the use.
And are people, as they're pedaling, are they kind of in a common area or room together, or are they in their own units?
Absolutely, Paul. MotiView can be used anywhere you like. A lot of homes will put it on a mobile cart. Say if somebody is in quarantine for whatever reason, we can bring MotiView right to their room, to the doorway, and they can participate from their room. But we always suggest you put it in a social area so that even people walking by can see the screen and say, that's Sweden. I've been there before. Enjoy the music. You don't need to be pedaling to participate. You can still bop along to the music and enjoy the scenery and share those stories with those around you.
And how many times do they seem to need to do it before it becomes a habit that sticks?
Oh, the wonderful question. So research will show us that it does take a little bit to actually get it into a habit. Habit forming is something that's well researched, obviously, but ModiView has that special aspect of engaging people in that familiar place, and that's really addicting for them to revisit. Oh, Spark Street in Ottawa, I used to work down here, and the time on bike will go by so quickly, and the next day they'll come back and say, well, now I want a tour. So it does become a habit fairly quickly, I'll say, Paul.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
And what were the biggest challenges and opportunities for you?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. Obviously, COVID-19 has put a real damper on programmings like ModiView, trying to keep people safe from the virus. Keeping people, cohorted is definitely a barrier to bringing people together to share those common stories. The other aspect, even pre-COVID, was staffing. Who's going to run a program like this? And again, we try to keep ModiView as easy to use as possible. I don't want to use the term low tech, but adding characteristics or adding features to an innovation can cause barriers to use. So ModiView is actually used by some seniors themselves in communal housing. They can scroll the app and select the video. But we can learn from other countries as well here in Canada. There's wonderful stories and innovative ways to engage people coming out of the Nordics. And one I will point to is called the Cycle Host program, where they engage refugees and newcomers to Norway to learn the basic skills of working in a care home. And then they can engage these residents into the cycling programs, help them with dinner, meal times, and transfer them to their next activity, and just really engage them socially, allowing the staff to stick to their duties.
Had you, no, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, how did you overcome this staffing issue? Like, what was the clever thinking behind it? Like, what was the impetus? Let's do this. Like, what was the driving force?
Sorry, Namrata, do you mean with the Cycle Host program?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Cycle Host program was a real wonderful collaboration between NAV in Norway and the long-term care homes. They needed staff. These refugees, newcomers needed some paid employment. And so they got together, and it's a win-win-win. The seniors are getting engaged, the long-term care homes are getting staffing, and these newcomers are getting paid employment and letters of reference from that country. So this is something we're looking at in Canada, and we would love to get more staff into these long-term care home retirement homes for sure. Thank
you. This was helpful. Paul?
So just another thing occurred to me to ask. So it is personalized in the way of choosing local places that would mean something to someone from that country or from that city. Is that right?
You're absolutely right, Paul. And that's how we build our library. When we get a new home, participating with ModiView and using ModiView, we ask them, well, where are your residents from? What are they interested in? I mean, we can travel to a place like Calgary and we can film beautiful sites, but maybe the residents in that home want perhaps the wheat fields, right? And then the farm tractors and that environment. So we'll do our best to tailor the videos as closely as possible to the interests and the memories of our users. Obviously, we're limited with COVID-19 and traveling, but a good example is we're working with a site in Toronto, and they serve predominantly a Jewish population. So we had the opportunity to send a video crew to Israel and made about 10 to 12 videos from Israel, because that's where their memories are from. That's where their valued memories are from. And they love to share those stories and point things out and teach, right? Because we can look at these individuals living in these homes, even if they're in their 80s or 90s living with dementia, as elders. There's that consideration of knowledge and learning that we can have from them. And ModiView will bring those lived experiences forward, and it really establishes and builds their legacy with those around them.
I think what you're saying is something that resonates with our guest, Munira Sultana, who did a lot of work around virtual reality and dementia, with similar kind of work where they would get experiences from the countries that the seniors have lived in, but also not all, let's say, for example, their learning was I think they had a lady from somewhere in Eastern Europe or Western Europe, I don't remember where. And then when they filmed where she grew up, it triggered her because that's where she remembered getting, I think, bombed in the World War. So sometimes it triggered negative memories, though it was the right information. And so it's kind of interesting nostalgia, which is something that remains, even if for many people as they go ahead in progression of dementia. And I quite commend that you're kind of integrating cognitive, affective, physical health in one. And I quite I like the idea because even as we look at isolation, the pathways that we feel, one of the things is how can you make someone feel back to the original things they did or felt. And nostalgia is a big part of any company that works in this domain, like either it's your marketing or it's your content or it's your presentation, something, right? And we talk about nostalgia by design is what any senior tech company should aim for, and this is what you have thrived in. So I think it's a great, for people listening to this podcast, a great insight into one of the biggest consumers of technology market, which is the gray tech market, silver tech market, whatever you call it. And that needs a different kind of innovation, a different kind of consideration. Like for me, myself, like now that I live in Canada, when I come to Mumbai and I see the same street I grew up, I can't recognize it. It's become like so different. And I almost cried because I remember my childhood was so different growing up. I used to remember going downstairs and playing on the streets and like, going and picking up candy or whatever, like whatever, nothing. It's all a metro station now.
Wow.
And when I passed through that this year, I was like, what happened? My brother was like, well, civilization happened.
Yeah.
And this is, and I remember my mother and I think this was maybe 20 years ago, we went to the place that she was born. And she remembered, and she was 5 when they moved. She remembered every house in school, and they were still there. For her case, it was still, some of it was there. And I was like, you don't remember streets in Mumbai, and you remember this from when you were 5, right? Like, it's just amazing, the human brain, what it can do, and especially with those impressionable years that, so yeah, I totally appreciate it. And if you're going to do any Mumbai recordings, please send it to me. I would love to work out looking at Mumbai streets.
Wonderful.
Paul?
Yes, what advice would you have for our company?
In Motitech, we have this term pedal on. I'm going to encourage you to pedal on and keep doing what you're doing. I've listened to a lot of your different podcasts. You're inviting some wonderful thought leaders and actually bringing this conversation forward and encouraging the seniors that you don't have to do this trip alone. We call it the bike ride alone. You can pedal with others and share the stories and share the learnings with each other. Let's collaborate on that. So this is really my recommendation to Seniors Junction is to pedal on.
Thank you. And we'll keep that in mind. And if people have to find you and your organization, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, we're on social medias. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Motitech.ca is our website right now. We're going through an overhaul, so stick with us. You'll be redirected, but Motitech.ca.
Perfect. Thank you, Dan.
Namrata, I wanted to touch on something you said about how our childhood memories just stick with us. And we've got some wonderful user stories from the Nordics and here in Canada. One individual that is not really communicating much anymore. Maybe he was kind of withdrawing. And we presented a video from Norway, and he used to be a cab driver, a taxi driver. And you'd be sure he knows the streets. When we put that video on, he started going, tour guiding everybody, and everybody was amazed at how he could direct you from point A to point B, right? And communicate that to you. So you're absolutely right. These childhood memories are in our mind somewhere, and stimulation like videos and music really bring them forward. The moment I knew MotiView was working, as I had this individual come back, and he already ran a session, pedaled about 3 kilometers in the morning. He says, Dan, I want to do another tour. I said, great, let's put it on. And we put on some music from, I believe it was the 50s or 60s. And there was a song that came on about a yellow polka dot bikini. Now, I'm a
Yeah,
child of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
1980.
Yeah, we know
I
that
wasn't
one.
aware-
We know that
I
one.
wasn't aware of this song.
It's the best. Yeah, I was,
Yeah.
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 And he started bopping along, pedaling on. And then people behind me that weren't participating with us started singing. And the staff member was bopping as she was passing out medications. Said it's a holistic environmental thing, bringing this joy of Modi View in. I said, I need to see this in more homes across Canada.
That's perfect. And I really wish you get to see that and we get to see you grow, because this is what we would make us happy, is to see somebody's life get better with whatever solutions exist.
Yeah, no,
Right.
we're definitely interested as a company in Moti Tech of empowering seniors to really increase their quality of life through the physical and cognitive and social. So really appreciate that, Namrata.
That's our mission, to keep sharp, stay connected, and find purpose. So I think there's a lot in common in what you think and what we think, and that's wonderful.
Wonderful.
And
Find that purpose is really an interesting thing that you mentioned. We run every year a Road Worlds for Seniors competition. And just because individuals are living in care homes or retirement homes doesn't mean they once were a competitive athlete. And we find these athletes through our Road Worlds for Seniors competition every September.
that's excellent. I think we should, Paul, we should look up some stuff and sign up for it too.
I think so too. I think so too.
Excellent.
I think I'd be a good candidate.
Yeah.
Sounds good, Paul.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Dan. This was such a wonderful
Thank you.
conversation.
yeah, you're wonderful people. Thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.